7:58, boom, and welcome to Wednesday, Wisdom Wednesday, Wacky Wednesday. What up, Wednesday?
It's a hell of a Tuesday, is what it was.
Tuesday.
Trips to the vet, trips to the doctor to see, the baby, the ultrasound, the whole deal. Trips to Del Rey, coaching calls. It was and dealing with 95 is just not fun. Like, I got to get a driver or something. Because,
what's really cool is Jake's post yesterday about
got a lot of traction.
Thinking about hey, I got to weigh whether I want to sit in that bullshit. It's we do have the train back, so the train. I'm trying to figure out the train into my schedule to make it more efficient.
Did you see the president of Brightline commented on Jake's post? He said, "Take Brightline train."
Get out of town! I didn't see that. Amazing. That's amazing.
Classic. So I immediately reached out to him and was like, "Great comment on my brother's post. Like, love the Brightline train. Glad to have it back. Welcome to the tribe." That whole deal. But it was super awesome to see that.
Way back when there was different management there, I did work for them. We did an event called Train on the Train.
Yeah.
Reach out to him and see if he wants to do it again. That'd be amazing.
Sure. Yeah. So it was super cool. I mean, and that's the way LinkedIn works, right? Like, try to teach people that it's a networking environment. You just never know where people show up, how they show up, what they say, and it offers you an opportunity to show up in their life in a relevant way.
There's a face and a name I haven't seen in a while. Good morning, Susan. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. This is the place. This is where we get together. We talk. We learn. We motivate, inspire. Man, I love doing this.
Then we got to eat a burger at Third and Third last night. So for those of you who are Delray locals.
So Monday, I was going to do this thing on the rule of three because I know about it. It's been part of my marketing mind for a long time. Andy Hill, Shay, do you have the picture of us last night? If you don't have that, there you go. Look at us. So this place is called Third at Third. And Andy, on Friday of last week in our conversation, he said, sum it up for me and give me the rule of three. I almost passed out. I was like, dude, that's a great way to learn, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Snap, crackle, pop, Mo, Larry, and Curly. So things happen in threes, which I will talk about either Friday or Monday. But today we got a great show. We have our
understandably has done a couple of different recent newsletters about the rule of three and working in thirds. And I was excited to have that conversation actually, because there are so many takeaways from my previous coaching career. Maybe my favorite meeting of all time was based around threes.
So, let's just do that on Friday. Here's my commitment. We'll do that on Friday's show. The content's already baked. That'll be nice because Thursday night we are going to celebrate the Apogee Awards, which is all C-level executives. And our only Lori Salarillo is up for an award. So we'll be sitting with the JA folks and celebrating them. Today, we're super, super lucky to have our friend Gabe Leal. He'll be here in a few minutes. We got a couple of opening stuff. Let's get to wake up music. I've got two things about November 16th and November 17th, and then we're blasting off with GL.
Wake up, everybody! Wake up, come on, wake up, everybody, teach a new way, maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed, no more about to thinking, time for thinking ahead, come on now.
It's just such a shame, man. I would love to invite Teddy on the show.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
That would be pretty incredible if we can do that. So November 16th, big day. You had a bunch of stuff to talk about. We talked about it being my dad's birthday. He got Joe Stonecraft, so he's a happy camper. But we missed something yesterday. Yesterday was National Entrepreneurs Day.
Wow.
Which was, I think, a pretty big miss,
Yeah. We ended up talking about some great content, but can't believe we missed it.
Right. So the word entrepreneur comes from the French word entreprendre, meaning to undertake. And so that was way back in the 1700s. They were talking about it. Fast forwarded to the 1800s, there was a guy named Richard Cantillon. He defined it as a person who pays a certain price for a product and resells it at an uncertain price.
Oh, wow.
So the timeline is 1800s all the way up to 1976 when Steve Jobs said, think differently. Those guys got in a garage and said, we can do something different. 2009 Shark Tank debuts. Hard to believe that's been going on for so long. And then in 2012, they made November the third Tuesday. Boom, they said, okay, it's declared as National Entrepreneurs Day and month. And
is there a why on the third Tuesday? Like, is there
some guy said I want
to why on that?
Somebody petitioned to do it, but so it's really interesting for me because when I was growing up, there was no JA, right? And there was no entrepreneur, man. There wasn't people in my direct view, no teachers, no mentors that were going, why don't you become an entrepreneur? My dad was an entrepreneur. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, but they didn't walk around going, I'm an entrepreneur. So, basically being an entrepreneur, and we'll close it out at this, right? It's just betting on yourself, period. And if you can bring that mindset to anything you do, because you should bet on yourself as being the one who can do, you can achieve, you can overachieve, all that kind of stuff. So
I love that. And I want to give a shout out to Carissa Jones because she introduced me to a podcast that Rob Deerdeck was on called Entre Leader, which is like an entrepreneurs podcast where they bring entrepreneurs on that have been successful throughout their career. And the way Rob defined being an entrepreneur was being a builder, right? He's a creative. He likes to create things. He likes to test things. He likes to try things. And he talks about the swings of it being successful and getting bought and it being this euphoric moment. And also the hell of it not working, realizing you have the wrong product, trying to figure out a way to pivot it, and the struggles that go along both sides of it. And he's like, and if you're not willing to live in both of those emotions, then entrepreneurship is not for you. Right. It was an hour long. It was a really good piece of content. It was worth listening to.
I mean, I think last night you saw that I'm the creative idea guy. When it came down, like when the conversation switched to like,
how do we actually do it?
Back room. I'll have another bartender. So anyway, so quickly, because I really don't want to steal any of Gabe's time. November 17th goes down in history as the Heidi game. For those of you who are Jet fans or know that I'm a Jet fan, this was a wild point in history. Shay, show me the Heidi game.
No idea what was going on with Heidi. And apparently we put that in over Heidi trying to get up and walk, and it was a very tense scene, and we're putting in the score of a football game, and it just really wasn't very pretty.
But it was on the front page of the New York Times. And when you say something's on the front page of the New York Times, you got to figure it's pretty important.
NBC apologized for the error, but by then, Oakland had scored 2 touchdowns in the last minute at beaten New York. The game was over. The fans who missed it could not be consoled.
Probably the significance factor is that whatever you do, you better not leave an NFL football game.
He scored!
10 years earlier, if you did the same thing on a telecast, would you get that kind of an uproar? I don't know, but you sure did at that point in time, and it sure lets you know that you better not take my football away from me at 7 o'clock.
What a game!
Insane.
Gotta love football.
Isn't that crazy? Don't take away my football. So speaking of entertainment and delivering value and all that kind of stuff, it's all about content and programming. Let's bring on our friend, boom, Gabe Leal, man.
Good morning, Gabe. Oh, we can't hear you.
And you're on mute.
And I'm on mute. Wow. Well, I wanted to hear them talk about the Heidi game because that changed the way that broadcasting was done after that game. And everything sort of said, never again will we will ever leave a game and for preemptive.
Even for other football games. At this point. Like, I missed the beginning of the Miami Florida State game because they wouldn't leave the game that was on prior.
Yeah. So it's changed the way that's broadcasting. So that was actually a pivotal moment in television. So I'm glad you shared that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, leave it to us here in the Daily Huddle to bring up stuff. Now, what we don't talk about is that the Jets lost in the last game.
Exactly, right.
Which is as classic as it gets. You could tune into any Jet game, turn off the last minute, and know that they're going to lose.
That's the killer part, right? Is you still have to stay tuned to watch if you're a Jets fan to get your heart crushed.
Absolutely crazy. So thanks for sharing your time with us this morning.
No worries.
Great journey on LinkedIn. Had it not been for LinkedIn, you don't know Mark, you don't know me. So Mark, why don't you share a little bit of how you guys met, and then let's get into some questions.
So Gabe came to me through LinkedIn. We connected. He was like, hey, I have a show that I'm trying to launch. Actually, him and I had a virtual coffee first.
Yeah.
And you were on a job site. And you were doing a virtual coffee with me while you were on a job site, which was incredible. And you were like, would you do my show? I'm trying to get into content creation and I'm trying to build this thing. And I was like, absolutely, I'll do it. And it was early. I think I was one of the first few episodes. I don't know actually what number it was. But that's how it started.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where when I started doing this, I wanted to be able to say, you know what, I want to provide a place where I can bring people on and show the human interest in people, which is what I'm really all about most of the time. It's just showing people that people are people no matter what, whether they're entrepreneurs, millionaires, billionaires. People are people when you break it down just to the foundation of who they are. So when I asked you on, I actually found you through a mutual friend, Mr. Adam Posner.
Right.
He was like he was always extolling the greatness of Steve Nudelberg. And he kept talking about Steve and Steve this, Steve that. So I had to start checking him out. And then that's when I found you. And I go, oh, it's just as much of a spark. So I wanted to reach out. So when I had the opportunity, I was like, cool. We had a great interview. I remember it was very early on in my journey, but it kind of set a foundation for me that, you know what, you can reach out to different people. You can connect. And this is what really this platform that we're on LinkedIn is such a wonderful place. And before I say anything else, awesome. I have to give kudos to number one, the community in the Huddle there. I've never been in a community where you walk into, it's like walking into somewhere and everybody just says hi, knows your name.
Cheers, baby.
Brings you
Everybody
on.
knows your name.
They come in here and they support. And sometimes not even during the show itself. It's like afterwards, I saw you there in the Huddle. Let's connect. You guys have done a magnificent job of building one of the best communities to be around. So anytime I get to show that, support that, that is one thing.
How did you come up with the idea to create the LinkedIn stream guide? Like, you're doing it every morning, which goes to you, and you're finding new shows. I see the listing continues to grow. Number one, how did you come up with the idea to create it? And then how do you decide who makes it into the guide?
So it's essentially, I find everybody that I possibly can, new creators, established creators, people that are just starting their journey, because I wanted to build a community of support for some people, because sometimes they want to get into this. They might feel discouraged because they might go on a stream and have a conversation and might have nobody or one person show up. So I wanted to add a place to say, you know what, you can come in here and you fit right along with the people that have 100,000 followers. Whether you only have, you're creating, you're sharing, I'm highlighting you and bringing you into this community and hopefully start building your own community, collaborating with other people, finding ways to connect. So the idea actually came from doing this, watching like guys like you. I was watching another show, another content creator. He did this great thing where he brought on just he would find individual content on his own and bring it in there. He would highlight it on the show, talk about what was really great about it, kind of give pointers on if they could improve it or if it was, or how people could take tips from it. And a light bulb moment went on for me and said, you know what, I'm not streaming every day anymore, but doesn't mean I can't still be a part of this community and help build and uplift other people. So that moment that it did, sitting there just watching, that's why I tell people, you want to find value in these things? I can find value in your show every single day. Something that you guys share.
So you've done an amazing job For old people like me, I remember when they came up with TV Guide.
Yes.
There was a lot of TV stations. All of a sudden, there was something you could go to see what was available, and understanding that there's a lot of choices and that not everybody likes everything. Not everybody wants to do the same thing every day. When people say to me, hey, listen, I'm in and out of the huddle. Great. Whatever works for you. You know, we started this at the very beginning of the pandemic when people were overwhelmed, desperate, locked in their homes, lonely. We were hearing real desperation. And we said, let's just do something that whoever comes to the party, let's just make them feel welcome and have a good time and deliver content. Truth of the matter is, we would be starting our day this way anyway. We think it's a spark, makes the brain get going. As a practice in my career, I had a list of people that the first thing I would reach out to and say, hey, let's just get each other going, like a gym partner. Well, you became that kind of guy. And so the value proposition of just looking for ways to serve or give was then, it's now. And I want your take on, we created something called the Hall of Shame, the Wall of Shame, the Hall of Shame, the idea that some people are in this and just don't get it. What do you see?
Yeah. So there are people that can get into it for a lot of the wrong reasons, right? And it kind of shows across when people make their presentations there, right? They don't gain the traction. They don't get the audience. They don't get the people to start following because they don't go into it with the right purpose, right? I think that's one of the things you have to have no matter what you do.
Do you nix people? Like when somebody tries to get into your world, like how guarded are you on who you're connecting with and who you're allowing into your network because of the way you're bringing value?
Yeah. So it comes down to this. If it comes to almost like a direct sales pitch about, here's my show and I need you. If I go and I investigate it and if I see that that's what they're just about to try to get into getting people and finding leads and that sort of thing. Okay. You know what? You have other methods to go about doing that. I'm trying to actually bring value to people who want to go out. And these are just real pure creators who are sharing their stories. They're not sitting here pushing sales points and everything else on the screen. They're trying to actually give you informative information that can actually change the trajectory of your lives. So that's what I search for. I love it when I get to find that, and I love it like what you guys do because you provide inspiration, motivation, coaching, learning, all a free value that people can come in here and get every single day. If they want to get it on a Wednesday, on a Friday, on a Monday, they can come and get it. And it sets the tone. This is why I like what Steve was talking about. It sets the tone for your day. Right.
So what's interesting is that when I started to dig into all of the digital tools, old guy, new tools, saying, okay, what can we do with this? The barrier to entry to create your own podcast is nothing. It's just taking the time and energy to put yourself out there in a genuine and authentic way. To your point, when people show up without purpose and, or if their purpose is just strictly to bang you on the head and sell you something, you see it and you know it. And so this platform, once I started doing my first podcast, which was based on my book, I would bring other entrepreneurs on, and then they would call me like 2 months later and say, dude, since I was on your show, I've been on 12 shows. So I was like a booking agent. So they were like, thank you so much. I'm meeting so many great people because it's all about exposure. It's all about awareness. And if my stage can help you, someone's going to help me or has already helped me. And so we've talked about this almost ad nauseum. It's abundance. There's so much in LinkedIn. You couldn't cover the ground. It's impossible.
And here's the wonderful thing about this, Steve, that since recent announcements and changes that they're making to a lot of the platforms, people are now having the access to kind of start broadcasting on their own. So I'm helping people kind of come out of the woodwork that might have a really critical message they want to share with somebody and say, look, the technology is not intimidating. You can do this for free. You can get started. you can start crafting your message, helping somebody down the road. I mean, this is what these are. You're planting the seeds of impact that you don't even know when they are going to reap something pretty good for yourself.
Yeah, so Lori Salarillo, who is a friend and a client, and everybody hears about her, she saw it and said, I want to do it. How can I do it? Boom, she created Recipe for Success. The next thing you know, she's bringing on people, sharing the message of what JA does. Kim Swears became the boat boss. That was genuinely her. All we did was put her on the highway to do it. When you started to do it, speak to what was the fear factor for you? Because everybody says, well, I don't want to look like a jerk, you know.
So for most of the people, it's like being able to talk on camera. For a lot of folks, it's the aspect of saying I'm talking to an inanimate object just pointing back at me and being able to communicate, right? I tell people, you have to see it as though you're sitting across from somebody and you're just having a conversation with them. If you can kind of bring that sort of imagining of how you can talk to somebody and put it in your mind, being in front of the camera is probably becomes easier. Believe me, I improved. I was not always, and I've told this before, I was not always the most camera present person. I was very shy when I started doing this, but I did it to challenge myself and change the way that I actually operate in my life, and I was changing a lot of things foundationally for myself. So that was one of them. And I said, if I can do this, I know other people can, right? And there's other people out there that are still waiting. And I've had conversations with people like, I just don't know if I can sit there and be in front of camera and just know that people are watching. And I have to tell them, you know what? You go in there and you just be you for who you are, what you are, and how you can just talk about what is sort of passionate and what you bring every day. People are going to, it's going to resonate with the right people. Those people will come.
There you go. It's going to resonate with the right people. That's the key thing, is that understanding that you don't have to be for everybody, and that if you put yourself out there, it'll find the right people if you're just consistent. And really, it's just consistent, right? Like if you just continue to do it regardless of outcome, it happens. It just starts to happen, and it starts to click for people, and you find the right people.
Yeah.
So I'll close with this. You know, everything is about mindset. You know,
yes.
For Mark and I, or I'll speak specifically for me, doing the show, I enjoy creating the content. I enjoy listening, learning, putting something together that is delivering. It's like I'm delivering food to the universe. I'm nourishing the universe on a daily basis. It makes me feel good. I don't say, oh, I have to create the content. I get to create the content. I get to do it. There's Laura Sherwin. Wednesdays are my favorite now because I get to work with her every Wednesday at 1:00. I get to do that.
And the Huddle content is stuff that we would talk about anyway. It's not like you're looking for things that are outside of, we would have a conversation about National Entrepreneur Day anyway, right? We would be talking about these things anyway. You just choose to share them in a public forum, and that builds your personal brand, and that helps you find people that are like-minded and that you can connect with.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, if you find the right people, if you find somebody, maybe you find a co-host along the way, kind of like what you said, Steve. You're the creative, and Mark adds the structure, right?
Yeah. When we started doing this, there was no structure.
Listen, I've never had any structure.
Get on and go. And I was like, all right, here's the show rundown.
Right. But now that you've been doing it, and it's like anything, right? Any routine, anything that you got, like you got done in coaching, you get in a rhythm, you build a way to kind of say, you know what, this is the template of how we do things, and you've kind of created your own structure. You have a really great presentation now. You know what you guys do. Again, this is something that was created from nothing, with just an idea, a spark, and a passion to get this going. And that's all I push people to do every single day. Is believe me, I have at least 4 to 5 different virtual calls every day with just people saying, I want to figure out how to get started.
You're on the Huddle, so you got to call them virtual coffees.
Virtual coffees. So
it's interesting that you say that, because when Jake came on board, the first thing we had him do was go harvest the content from the original shows.
Yeah.
And he came back like after 2 days and said, guys, the show is unwatchable. It's so bad. It's like, what the hell were you guys doing? So it's just a lot of yelling and screaming, but to your point, as in everything in life, you figure it out, you create structure, you start getting better at it, you practice, and the result of that is a product that we're real proud of. We're real proud that you feel good enough about us to share it with your universe, because your audience has jumped into our audience. We have had a bunch of people. So what can the Huddle do for you? Tell us how we can help.
I simply want people, and I've told all the creators to do this. I've created a hashtag, right, that I share on LinkedIn. It'll populate now if you put hashtag LinkedIn live streams. And what that generally does is it brings all of these live streams. So when you create an event, you put it there, and the replay sits there afterwards. So if people want to go find like your shows every day, right afterwards, I can't catch it live, but I can go watch the replay. They can go strictly to the hashtag there.
LinkedIn live streams.
And it's right there for you to see. And then people also put creative content in there that has to deal with how to become creative or how to do things. So people are starting to put resources in there, things that they can do that if you want to be a creator. And all of these, it's becoming this really inclusive and diverse sort of community of people coming together. And this is what I love.
Fantastic. That's awesome.
Thanks for kicking off our day. The red is badass, brother.
Appreciate it. I love the red, so that's part of
the red pops, man. It totally works. Thanks. Stay in touch. Know that you got a lot of friends. Keep showing up with your comments and your content. Mark, any closing thoughts?
Let's get down to business.
Bang.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this.